For over 20 years, the UN has been attempting to advance the globalist plan called Agenda 21. Under the guise of the title Sustainable Development, this state of regulations has been the driving force behind many of the land and business regulations passed in your local community. Sustainable development almost always results in a community turning over its resources to a small bureaucracy who, through tax and regulation, transfer more and more power to themselves. While many media outlets decry Agenda 21 as a dead letter, we see evidence of the implementation of this plan all the time. In Austin, Texas, for example, a series of land development rules called CodeNext has been pushed for years. NGOs with an interest in Agenda 21 have been producing videos which could prepare or tone the public for unnatural living scenarios. One video in particular, Plandopolis, shows a future world where everything is tracked, traced, and you are only allowed meat on certain days.
What's on the menu this month? No, not meat. It's not your birthday. The Global Food Council are doing a really good job of keeping food production going. I mean, you don't get the choice you used to, but we're better off than most.
And if you don't agree with this controlled aspect of living, then you live in the ghettos and are shunned by society. Now let's look at CodeNext.
It's called CodeNext. That's the trendy name for Agenda 21 in Austin, Texas. Under their Next code systems, they are openly establishing a planetary system of total control where the individual has absolutely no rights and where your very environment is a prison. Look into CodeNext if you want to understand the global model of Agenda 21 simply using zoning to fully enslave you and your family.
This plan begins by rezoning already existing neighborhoods to meet a new standard that will be compatible with new future plans already outlined in Agenda 21. CodeNext wants to change existing single-family housing developments and implement a new sustainable model that contains massive apartment buildings, some of which contain 200-square-foot coffin apartments. And by raising people's property taxes to unlivable standards, people are forced to sell their homes to giant developers, which can knock down, say, 4 houses in an area and put up giant high-rises, thereby increasing the property tax base even more and crowding more and more people into smaller and smaller areas. This also increases traffic congestion. So CodeNext also makes driving lanes smaller and even adds concrete embankments for bike lanes, anything to impede the natural flow of traffic. But what's the true incentive for programs like CodeNext? Beyond their claims of being the progressive left has been caught many times engaging in voter fraud. President Obama even encouraged illegal immigrants to vote on Election Day.
So if I vote, will immigration know where I live? Will they come for my family and deport us?
Not true. And the reason is, first of all, when you vote, you are a citizen yourself, and there is not a situation where the voting rolls somehow are transferred over and people start investigating, etc. The sanctity of the vote is strictly confidential.
And with an abundance of cheap rooms and small coffin-like apartments being built in once middle-class residential communities, you can turn conservative districts into leftist progressive districts.
They have an admitted plan under CodeNext to take over Austin and then take over the surrounding towns like a cancer, take over the I-35 and I-45 corridors and fully bring in the third world population to drive down wages, to house them in overpriced coffin apartments, and to bring down the standard of living massively, then use those political groups as a checkmate on the rest of the population and kill the middle class once and for all.
It affects every property owner, every renter, everyone that lives in Austin, whether you live inside the city or just outside of our city limits.
Okay, he's talking about CodeNext. The code will reflect what the character of your neighborhood should look like, as well as mobility options. We talked to Habitat for Humanity, and right now they are waiting to develop this old lumber yard on East 4th Street. It's just a block or so away from the Metro Rail station. They believe the rewriting of the code will allow them to build more affordable units instead of just single-family homes.
The bureaucrats win by creating a vertical property tax base. Instead of one house paying one set of property taxes, you now have 400 little apartments all paying tax on the same piece of property. Breaking apart residential communities and adding small rent-controlled efficiency apartments, popularly known as the projects, can have serious effects on a community as well. Will a neighborhood of primarily single-family dwellings be subject to increased crime rates that we see in sanctuary cities across the nation? This is obviously a disaster waiting to happen. Through Agenda 21 and its manifestations like CodeNext, we can see the dark cloud of sustainable development consuming us all. Rob Dew reporting for Infowars.com and Infowars Nightly News.
We're selling a product, DNA Force, that is the very best nutraceutical that we can produce. Dr. Group, you took years for you to develop DNA Force for us.
It's been something that I've been working on for a long time, Alex, because I think it's very, very important. What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying.
We chose the PQQ because it has over 175 different clinical trials. It's one of the most effective substances in the world. It works like an antioxidant. It works to repair nerve growth factor.
So this is a formula to deliver the maximum amount. It's in powder form.
We have so many 5-star reviews. I take this. This is the product that I take.
Infowarslife.com, and the profit we make, we fight the globals. We fight the New World Order. Secure your DNA Force today at Infowarslife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.